of 4. They're coming at him, he's been 6 and 7. Tom Trbojevic has been an 8.
Oh, wow.
No.
Well, no, indeed, Tommy Hudson, because Tommy Turbo, for the second time already this season, is out injured, and that is his year done, so we think. This is the SuperCoach365 podcast coming at you. Ryan Selvage, Tommy Hudson here to chat everything round 12 and beyond. Tommy, not the news again that we wanted to start the podcast with?
No, absolutely not. G'day, Ryan. Second time this year, as you're saying. Obviously, it was huge last year, but the season before that, he was injured. He's a very unlucky player, maybe. Is it unlucky? Maybe he's just fragile. I don't know, but it is disappointing for super coaches, especially those who recently traded him in. And I think probably everyone was looking at getting him in later in the year, but you can't really now. Yep,
I was one of those who went early on Turbo and wasn't the right move in the end anyway. Vision is, what do they say? Hindsight's 20/20. I guess, yeah, speaking on the other end of that scale, though, someone who keeps kicking goals, literally and figuratively, Supercoach sense, is Nicho Hynes. Again, a starring performance for the Sharks in that what turned out to be a nail-biting win over the Titans, but he was at the heart of everything they did well.
Yeah, for sure. That second half, they really turned it on, the Sharks, Hynes especially, and I think a lot of people at halftime were probably nervous, I think 35% captained him, and he wasn't doing a lot, but then, yeah, he really turned it on, as I said, and he saved everyone's week. And Cleary also, the other probably big gun of the comp at the moment in Supercoach terms, he was great as well.
Now, stick around. We're going to talk all of round 11, of course. We'll chat round 12. We'll preview that, and then we'll check in with the run into the Origin period, because from this week onwards, we've said it for a few weeks now, but really this week it does start to take full effect. The teams will be named on Sunday night, and they'll head into camp after that for round 13. Of course, the first of a couple of bye-affected rounds, and Tommy, planning is it's been crucial to this point, but again, as we say, trading places at the back end of the podcast, our trades will be heavily focused around round 13 and leading into these weeks without these star names.
Yeah, I feel like Origin and round 13 has been a long time coming. We've been talking about it for probably a month to 6 weeks, but it's really on the doorstep now of it. So, yeah, looking forward to it. And as I said many times, this is the period of the year in Supercoach terms where I think you'll separate the men from the boys, as you said last week. It'll really be a telling period for everybody.
It will. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's look back at all the results from round 11. The round just gone kicked off, obviously, on Thursday night with the Knights at home against the Broncos, who were without Adam Reynolds, but it didn't matter. 36-12 victors, the Broncos, away from home there. Big win. West Tigers, too good for the Bulldogs. 36 points to 22 on the first game on Friday night. And then probably the game of the week in terms of its closeness, its intensity, and its finish, of course. Parramatta, 22 points to 20 over the Seagulls, and it was all about the finish in that one.
Yeah, very exciting game, and obviously that was the game where we talked about from the start, Tommy Turbo, probably his last game of the year, which was disappointing. On Saturday, the Dragons and the Warriors fought out a scrappy game, so we probably thought Dragons getting the win there by 6 points. Cowboys over the Storm, possibly, well, maybe not the upset of the year given the Storm's outs, but to beat the Storm by 30 was quite amazing. And then to cap it off on Saturday night, we were live to watch the Roosters and Panthers go at it, and Penrith, they just keep getting better, don't they?
They do. They just wore the Roosters down with their defence. The Roosters had plenty of ball early, and then I think it was not until the 26th or 28th minute before Jerome Luai crossed, and from that point it was all one-way traffic. Spoke of one of the shock results there with the Cowboys over the Storm. I thought this was probably even bigger shock than that. The Raiders and the way that they beat Souths, 32 points to 12. A big win for your boys. We said there that you're rugged up. You're looking like you're sitting in Canberra yourself tonight, Tommy. But the Raiders, they were red hot last week.
Yeah, just channeling the boys tonight. No, really been impressed with them the last 2 weeks, and that was our best win on the weekend. Going into a big game against the Eels this week, so that's really exciting. The Rabbitohs, on the other hand, are going poorly, and I'm sure we'll chat about them shortly. The last game of the round was the Sharks getting over the Titans, as we mentioned earlier, 25 points to 18.
Let's waste no time. Let's do this. Our good, our bad, and of course our ugly from round 11. I'll kick us off with a little bit of the good. The good in the bad, I'll call it, because I think I had a pretty average score last week. Middle of, just over 1,035, I think. And what looked a pretty average score turned out to be not too bad. Like, I dropped some ranks, but only about 400, so still sitting inside the top 10%. And I mean, it can only be said that I'm probably a little bit lucky to get away with that, really.
Yeah, I felt similar. I didn't think I scored overly well. It was a similar score to you, and I think I went up 40 spots or something. So it was really tight, close round. There wasn't a lot of massive scores. My good was probably Damien Cook. I just think he's been a bit of... I think you own him as well in the hooking role, and he's been probably a little bit of a pod because most people probably have Harry Grant, but Cook, I think, outscored Grant by 50 points this week, so that was a big help to me.
Yeah, we just flashed up our ranks and our scores on your screen. You'll see there I actually scored 1,013 points, top 35% score. So that's what I was getting at. Not a great score, but then you can contrast it with yours there, Tommy. Just 35 points more, 1,048, and you're right in the thick of things there. So yeah, I mean, and then what's your rank now? Up inside the top 700, you're flying.
Yeah, just 1 week at a time. What do they say? All the cliches. No, but I still had some bad though. My bad for the weekend, I'll go first. Probably, it has to be Jason Taumalolo, I guess. Off after about 20 minutes with the MCL. Luckily, they're thinking it's only a 2-week injury, so he may be back for the bye round, and I think fingers crossed that he is.
Yeah, I'll be crossing my fingers, my toes as well. It was shocking. I mean, as I said, we touched on Turbo already. I've traded in Taumalolo as well, Benny Trbojevic. So 3 names there just spring to mind immediately that I've traded in that have gone down with injuries pretty soon after they've found their way into the team. My bad as well, someone who's continued to battle injury, particularly head knocks this year and last year even as well, Satili Tupanua. He being out just really threw my forwards into disarray last week. And some of those other names up front, like Josh King and Max King even, just guys who were churning out reliable scores to start the year, they're just not doing it anymore. So my bad is my forwards, the guys up front just not pulling their weight.
Yeah, it's not what you want. Obviously, they don't have high ceilings, but you really rely on them to get, at least 50 points to keep your score ticking over. My ugly for the round, I probably didn't have a lot of terrible things, which you said was a good thing, which obviously it is, but probably just the performance of Souths in general. I have Blake Taff and Cody Walker. Damien Cook played well, but the other two really struggling. Cody Walker, like we looked at South's run a few weeks ago, or maybe 5 weeks ago, for the next 10 weeks at that stage, and we said, like, how good is their run, all these easy games, but they really haven't capitalised on it at all.
They haven't, no, and I think that's probably coincided. Their good run started when Latrell was injured. I think he would have made a massive difference in this period, and that golden run that we all pinpoint before a ball was kicked even, you could see it on paper that this was going to be the time Souths were going to make their move. Latrell being out, it's just really stalled that progression there from Souths. They just look really, really poor. My ugly, though, for the week, we've already sort of touched on it. Tommy Trbojevic, season done. Taumalolo going to miss a few weeks as well. So this was a period of the year I really wanted to conserve a couple of trades, only make trades out of necessity. It seems that I'll be making a couple more this week than I really wanted to, or that I intended to this time. As I intended to, rather, as I sat down with you this time last week. I was hoping for maybe one trade this week, and we'll get into our trading places there. But you get the hint that I'll be doing much more than one.
Yeah, you probably have to, and I think we also got a bit lucky with the Talakai news today that he's likely to play this week, and there was fears it was going to be a season-ending injury. So that is one good thing out of the weekend. Yeah.
Excuse me while I fumble and bumble my words there. Trying to get through this tonight because I know we've been going on a little bit the last couple of weeks. Let's throw this up here now. This is our group, the SuperCoach365 overall group. Of course, you'll see these graphics on your screens if you're watching us on YouTube. If not, this is the way it looks at the moment. We're heading into round 12 this week. Jeez, it's flying. Troy's still there, the Roosters pack, doing good things. And I just flicked through these names here, some familiar names, I should say. Savage Turbos, Brendan of the SuperCoach experience. He's found his way inside our top 10 and well and truly inside the top 1,000. I think he's 186 overall. So well done to the boys over there at the Experience Podcast, doing good things. Once you're done here, go and give them a listen because I can speak for myself, not so much for you, Tommy, but those boys are flying. I'm not. They might have some better tips than you and I, but no, well done to those who continue to do well in that group and overall as well.
And well done just to the entire group there. I think the top 89 of our group are in the top 1,000 overall. So that's a massive amount of people that are going so well. So obviously we've got some really esteemed followers.
Yeah, of course. And obviously The winner of that will take home $500 courtesy of Top Tippers. You can find that under your leagues, of course, in your groups 5, 7, 6, 8, 5, 5. And obviously the guy who wins it, the guy or girl, $500 in second place will take home an NRL jersey of their choice as well. Before we get into round 12, a reminder to follow us across the socials at SuperCoach365. If you are watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Leave us a couple of comments as well. We'll get back to you before the round kicks off. And this is where it does kick off, Tommy, with the Storm and the Manly Seagulls side, two sides which have, traditionally been strong rivals. That rivalry may be a little bit dented or affected here without their gun number ones. Obviously, Pappenhausen and Trbojevic not there. It would have been a better clash with them in it.
Yeah, two huge omissions and very desperate game, though. The Storm, I know they had Hughes and Paps out the other day, but to get dusted by 30 to the Cowboys, and I'm pretty sure Bellamy's quote after the game was they got beaten in effort areas. And, watching the Storm for the past 20 years as we have, that never really happens.
They're expected to bounce back here. $1.17 head-to-head with TopSport.com.au. Manly the outsiders at $5.25 on the back of the Trbojevic news. The line there as well, a big one, 15.5. The Seagulls get it, of course. Spoke of Pappenhausen being out, of course. He'll be back probably in the next couple of weeks, we think. A man who they do welcome back this week, Jerome Hughes, and boy, don't they need him.
Yeah, I think we said last week, you can probably play without one of your stars in Paps, but when you have two of them out in Hughes and Paps, they really struggled the last 2 weeks. So I think you'll see a new Melbourne this week, and also Nick Meaney back to fullback. I probably prefer that to Tyrone Wishart. I just think their team looks a lot more settled this week. Would you agree?
I do. I think there's still one big name on that team sheet that's not there that they do miss, and probably underrated as well, and that's Nelson Asofa Solomona. I think I heard this stat from the Rugby League Guru probably about a month ago. He said in the period of sort of the Storm dominance of 2017 through up until last season, even until Smith retired at the grand final, of course, I think he played the second most games for the Storm, and obviously the man who played the most was Cameron Smith. So just shows you how much he is a reliable part of their team, and he may come off the bench and play limited minutes, but they're very important minutes, and they're just not getting that impact out of the guys that are coming off for the bench.
Yeah, has been a loss, I should say. And yeah, you do look at that bench this week. Brandon Smith is class, but you've got Tyrone Wishart, Trent Liero, and Alec McDonald. It's pretty much no-name players. I know they'll still do a job for a Bellamy coach, but yeah, it's not the Storm we know and love. Manly, obviously the big omission is Turbo, so Garrick goes back to fullback. I think that's a big thing for SuperCoach, because I was pretty keen to get Garrick in, but now without Turbo, I don't know if I'm so hot on him.
Yeah, and even the names around Garrick and Turbo that, we're probably still, we didn't see it this year. Turbo hit his full straps as he did last year. Did he score over 100 this year? Maybe one game, Turbo. Maybe even not even one. But anyway, what I was getting at here is the names around Turbo, like your Coolers and your, even at times last year, Harper and Parker scored well. Jason Saab, another name that's on the injury list out there at Manly, that was consistently scoring big, 100-plus scores last year. So, as you say there with Garrick, it's not just Garrick, though. It's the names around him and Manly. Cherry Evans, again, probably one of those names that is affected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his injury now is probably just going to mean season-long lower scoring for those players. So I'm not sure if I really want to go to Garrick anymore. Josh Schuster is another name which I thought was interesting on the bench. I think he's good enough to start, but he doesn't seem to be in favour.
Yeah, I don't know what's doing there. We said it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, with Schuster, when there was that talk around him wanting to play 6, and then he was injured. And yeah, anyway, some ugly things there at Manly. It's only going to get worse, I think, this weekend. I think Storm do this. They do it well. Munster, Hughes back. Yeah, see it on your screens here now. Just the impact which Jerome Hughes has had already this year. We know he's a great player, not only for the Melbourne Storm, but for SuperCoaches as well.
Yeah, for sure. He's got 2 scores over 100 this year, and we've seen firsthand the last 2 weeks how much Melbourne have missed him. They got beaten by 30 twice in a row. So you'd have to think his return will mean a return to form for Melbourne.
Looking at some try scorers very quickly for topsport.com.au. Xavier Coates, the short price favourite, $1.68. Those other names there you mentioned, Nick Meaney, Cameron Munster as well, firmly in the market. Manly, they do like conceding tries down their left side, their right side, the attacker's left side. So you'd think even Dean Ieremia at $1.85 probably looks a good shout.
Yeah, they're pretty short, the Storm players, but it's hard to argue. You have to think this is probably a bounce-back game for them. So yeah, you'd be leaning with them.
Now, let's move on here. Next game of the round. And who would have thought this 10 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago even now? The Panthers and the Cowboys, top four showdown at the foot of the mountains here. Panthers, they head into this one firm favourites. And probably, I looked at this earlier today. It was Penrith much shorter than I thought they would be. $1.22 with topsport.com.au. The Cowboys, obviously some big outs there with Felt and Taumalolo, of course, we've mentioned. The line, 14.5. This opened up at 10.5.
Yeah, it's probably the best Friday 6 p.m. game I can remember, isn't it? First versus third, really good stuff. I was like you, I kind of looked at the market and I wanted to back Penrith, but 14.5, that's a lot of start. But they are just playing so well, and like I said the other day, we watched them at the SCG the other night, and I don't think anyone gets near them if they play like that all year.
They're just ruthless, aren't they? And they don't even have to do a hell of a lot to do a lot, if that makes sense. Like, as I said, they won that game with their defence, really, the first half an hour. And from that point, the Roosters just came up with no answers to what they threw up the Panthers. I've got here, can the Cowboys do the unthinkable? Obviously, beat the Storm last week. Can they back it up with a big win against the Panthers away from home this week? Obviously, had the luxury of playing in front of their fans against the Storm.
I don't think so, no. I think Panthers would have to be off for the Cows to win. I think it's a different kettle of fish. Penrith are full strength. Cowboys have to travel away from home after that massive emotional high, 6 days earlier. So I'd be with the Penrith Panthers. And I think there's a lot of good options in the Panthers team for SuperCoach at the moment. The fact that they play the bye and they've got a few Kiwis in their front row and a few, young backs who won't be part of Origin. There's a lot of players there you can load up in your team.
Yeah, obviously that team is unchanged, and some of those names you speak are there. Isaac Tango, Taylor May, obviously, who's made his way into first grade already. A man we haven't spoken a hell of a lot about this year, James Fisher-Harris. Obviously lost a dual position in the preseason, probably a slight knock on him, but he was a mainstay of a lot of SuperCoach teams this time last year, and throughout the entire 2021 season, he just produced scores.
Yeah, he did, but he probably hasn't hit the heights this year. Just looking at his numbers now, he only averages 51. Last year it was 62, so he is down a fair bit on that. But the upside, as I just said there, he's going to play through the next few weeks, and Penrith have a great run, as I've said a few times now on this podcast. So, yeah, Penrith players, I'm massive on them at the moment.
For the Cowboys, obviously no Felt, no Taumalolo, which sees Hamasai Tabuai Fidau go to the wing. He'll want to push his Origin claims as well with a big game here. And obviously that name that just keeps coming back, the zombie. Jake Granville in jersey number 14, not doing Reece Robson any favours. And we actually sat here last week, didn't we, you and I, and we said that Reece Robson is a legitimate hooker option as long as he's playing 80 minutes. Produced a big score last week with a try assist as well. But Granville there again, it just fills him with no confidence that he's going to get the minutes, which he probably deserves on his form. Yeah,
it's an interesting one because he's flying Robson on SuperCoach and just in footy in general. 5 out of the past 6 games he's played 80 minutes. So I don't know, maybe he still will. I don't know, maybe Granville's just there for cover. It wouldn't make much sense to take off Robson the way he's going. I wouldn't think.
No, he's playing very, very well, and obviously it's coincided with the Cowboys flying. Scotty Drinkwater and Chad Townsend, obviously, Tommy did, and so that spine is pretty well locked in at the moment. Ruben Cotter, again, one of these names that'll be on the cusp of Origin selection. The Cowboys playing round 13 as well, so he could be still a popular trade-in. I don't think he was as involved last week, though, Cotter. Could be wrong, but one of those names like Taumalolo this time last week, we sat here and we mulled over. Should we still trade them in?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can trade in a Cotter now. I wish he wasn't playing Origin for selfish reasons, but he's going to be there. You'd have to think. He's so good. But looking beyond Origin, I think you even said a couple of weeks ago, the Cowboys' run for the rest of the year looks quite weak, like quite an easy run compared to a lot of teams. So players like Taumalolo and Cotter might have value beyond Origin.
And obviously, we're thinking that Taumalolo still may be a chance for round 13 as well. The big break even could be a reason to sell or at least not buy. Personally, I'm still holding. I only brought him in last week, round 13 in mind. Was hoping that he would play big minutes against the Storm. Wasn't to be in the end, through no fault of his own, really, and through no fault of Todd Payton's either, because that's a question with these Cowboys players as well. How many minutes will they play? Tommy, you said you're big on the Panthers. maybe hold off in your trade still, but someone like an Isaac Tungo, he was a popular trade out a couple of weeks ago. Are people sitting on the fence still now about getting him back, perhaps? Or is there merit still? Is it just swallowing your pride and getting him back in?
Yeah, without giving too much away, God, it's hard not to have him at the moment. He had a few down weeks there, but he's bounced back really well, and they've got such an easy run. He won't play Origin. He ticks so many boxes, and his break-even's only 6, so it's a pretty good time to buy.
If we are having a bet on this game here, topsport.com.au, we've already touched on the start, 14.5. Look, it looks big on paper, doesn't it? But we saw that last week at the SCG. The Roosters got a 10.5 start, I think it was, by the time it kicked off, but they very quickly swallowed it up, and half-time they were down 18-0 the Chooks. So give me the Panthers at the minus here. They're just another different beast at home, so I'll be probably favouring the home side, even despite that long start that they're giving away.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be this big, but I do think they'll get the win. Maybe for me, the unders, under 40.5. Both teams pretty defensive-minded. Might be a tightish game.
We'll see that one 6 p.m. Friday. That's generally where footy goes to die, but it'll be coming well and truly alive this week with the Panthers and the Cowboys there. Next game, the second game on Friday night, the Broncos and the Titans, the Queensland Derby. This one to be featuring, or with not featuring, I should say, without Adam Reynolds. He won't be there again. We saw this last week, didn't we, with the Broncos, and they didn't look anyway impacted, put on 30-plus points against the Knights, and Ezra Mam, 3 tries on NRL debut.
Yeah, great debut, wasn't it? He's only 18 or 19, I'm pretty sure. 89 SuperCoach points from memory. He could be one in a couple of weeks, but I don't know if he'll hold his spot once Reno comes back, and Gamble's been playing okay as well. But this Brisbane team, they're really exciting, aren't they? The likes of Staggs and Farnworth. They're just a great team to watch.
They are, and just got here that I think they were inside the top 4 after that win against the Knights. Obviously, other teams had games in hand, but just shows you that the Broncos, like the Cowboys, are one of the real surprise packets this year. They've won just one of their past 4 games against the Titans, so the little brother stands up in these games. But that one that they did win was the most recent matchup in a high-scoring affair, 36 points to 28. When they last met last season. For the Titans, David Fafita is back in the extended reserves. Titans, though, speak of the run there, they've lost 5 of their past 6 games.
Yeah, they're really struggling. They were a little bit better on Sunday against the Sharks, I thought, but they're still finding it hard to defend for long periods of time. And look, David Fafita on the extended bench, will he play? And even if he does, he's probably going to be straight into that Origin team, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he's an option this week. We sort of said this a couple of weeks ago with Tohu Harris coming back from injury. Different players in the sense that Tohu needs minutes. Fafita doesn't really need minutes to score points, but he needs that explosiveness, and coming back off an injury, you'd probably just rather sit back and wait until after the Origin period anyway. But for the Titans, it's where do they go? The one win they got was a scrappy golden point win against the Dragons. For themselves, it's not really a form line to be proud of.
No, there was that win. There was a terrible game against the Tigers early in the year, and then another one against the Warriors. So their form is really awful, and Brisbane are running hot at the moment. So Titans are going to have to do something really special to win the Jermaine Osako Cup here on Friday night.
Something to look forward to. Again, speaking of SuperCoach, probably not too much to speak of there, really. Ezra Mam, I think is this the week where he gained some cash? No. He has 2 more weeks, doesn't he? That was his debut last week. So, again, even still, you can have one more look at Ezra before you may feel tempted to bring him in. I won't be touching him, though. I won't be having a bet either in this game, Tommy. It just looks one of those games. The Broncos could win by 20 or lose by 6. I have no idea.
I'm going to message you at 7:50 on Friday night and see if you've had a bet. I reckon you would have.
Gamble responsibly, ladies and gentlemen. We'll push this one on, though. Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. kickoff here, the Warriors and the Knights. This one at Redcliffe. For the Warriors, they're already without Matt Lodge, obviously left the club in just weird circumstances last week, and now they're going to be without their other front man in Aden Fanua Blake as well. So they come up against a big Knights pack here. What's going on with the Warriors?
What's going on with either of these teams? If you've got a coin, flip it, because who knows? Very bad, their forward situation. I do agree, because Matt Lodge, for all his issues, he's a pretty good player. And AFB probably hasn't been hitting the heights this year, but he's still a leader of that club. So, yeah, their props this week, Ben Murdoch-Masila and Jazz Tavanga. It's not really striking fear into the opposition.
No, and obviously they come up against some Origin hopefuls in Clemmer, Daniel Saifidi and Tyson Frizzell as well. So they'll be pushing their claims to get a call up for Freddie's team. In some good news, though, for the Warriors, obviously we saw Chanel Harris-Tavita announce he's going to step away from the game at the end of the year, but he will be back in their number 6 jersey this week. A new signing, recent signing in Lussick comes over from the Roosters and gets his start here at hooker, with Jazz Tavanga moving to the front row. On the back of Lodge's exit as well as Fanua Blake's injury.
Yeah, Chanel has to read an interesting story. They're good to see him playing this weekend, though. Tohu Harris is probably the only player I'm looking at for the Warriors at the moment. He does play, obviously, the bye round during Origin. And he was pretty good the other day. It was his first proper game back where he played, I think, 70 minutes, and he did a good job. So he's one to watch. For the Knights, what did you think of Anthony Milford's return? I thought he was rocks and diamonds, a couple of good moments, but a couple of glaring errors as well.
That's what you get from him, isn't it? I actually picked him up in our draft league. I thought I'd rather get burned by having him than sitting back and watching someone else grab him, and we know what he can do at his best. So I think he had a try assist to Gagai, which was disallowed as well. So, I mean, that could have been another 12 points if he finishes on 55 first game back in a long time. You're probably not disappointed. I want to speak about his opposite number, though, here in Sean Johnson, or at least his opposite half. We sat here last week, you and I asked you the question, at $330,000, is he a serious option, SJ? Obviously lost the goal kicking, so lost a stack of cash. But again, class is permanent. He showed that against the Dragons last week. Couple of try assists, a try as well, a score of 90. He'll be back and making money, and I think he's playing round 13 as well. So it could be a real pod play in this next month.
Yeah, look, you make some good points, but I don't really like it. I don't think he played overly well the other day in terms of rugby league. He scored well, yes, on SuperCoach, but yeah, I don't know. I couldn't have him at the moment. I just don't like the Warriors at all. I know what you're saying. Like, he does tick some boxes in terms of the bye rounds, but yeah, I don't know. Not for me.
Interesting looking at this. The Knights actually the outsiders. Give me that. $2.10, topsport.com.au. They're getting a 2-point start here as well. But no, just back them straight, the Knights. I think they'll be winning this one. Too many big bodies up front. No, I think I've tipped them 3 weeks in a row now, the Knights. You said I was bagging them out the whole preseason, and now I'm on them. I think they can do. I think they'll win this week. Yeah,
I was keen last week that they could at least cover the line, and they lost by 30. They just had so much ball and they couldn't score. Like, I don't know if that's going to change this week. The Warriors are pretty bad defensively, though, so it's a good chance for both teams to win.
Clifford back as well. Interesting. He will partner Milford in the halves. I don't know if Clune's injured or dropped, but maybe dropped. His defence is pretty suspect anyway. We'll leave that game there because I think I said that 6 p.m. Friday is where footy goes to die. It's dying a slow death this Saturday afternoon to kick us off. Next game on Saturday, the Rabbitohs and the Tigers here. Now, looking at this one, Tommy, I'm very surprised when I look at this on topsport.com.au. Tigers, $2.85 outsiders. Obviously, they sprung the upset against the Bunnies in round 7, 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So I'm surprised at this when I look at this. But again, Souths, they've been in a horrible form of late.
Yeah, that's what surprises me as well. You know, the Tigers beat them about a month ago. The Tigers have been okay since, with a lot of injuries. Souths have been awful. For the Tigers, they get back Dane Laurie, who's probably a big inclusion at the back, and Luke Brooks, who has been pretty solid since Jackson Hastings has come to the club. So I think their team looks a lot stronger this week. But yeah, the South Sydney, really struggling. They were terrible the other day against Canberra, but they do get back Cameron Murray on the reserves, so he could be a late inclusion.
Yep, stay tuned closer to kickoff for that, named in jersey 24. Cam Murray. Another boost up front for Souths is Nichols. Mark Nichols back on their bench, so he'll likely wear jersey 16 and play some minutes. Not a boost for Supercoaches, though, is Isaiah Tass and Trent Peoples, not named in the 17 at all. So a lot of people rushed to Peoples, Trent, last week, and just 1 week in, or 2 weeks in, now he's back out the back door.
Yeah, and am I correct in saying that means like the third week would have been his price rise too? So they haven't got anything out of it. People. That's very disappointing. for the peoples.
Yeah. No, people responsibly. Dane Laurie, you've already mentioned him back, and that's a big boost. They're just, such a better team when he's back, and his ball playing has been missed. Although Stafford To'o was actually all right the other night against the Bulldogs, scored a try, nearly scored a double, but otherwise, no, they'll miss. They have missed Laurie. Just looking at some previous results to that round 7 upset there, the West Tigers had lost 6 of their previous 7 games against the Rabbitohs. So obviously bucked that trend last time out. But history says that the Rabbitohs generally find it an easier matchup here in the Tigers. I don't know, though. I think the 8.5 with that topsport.com.au, the Tigers, particularly the way that Hastings has been playing, that looks a big start.
Yeah, that's my best bet of the round, for sure. Tigers with the line. I haven't been convinced by anything Souths have done. Even their wins this year have had a lot of luck attached to them. I'm just not convinced on Walker and Ilias. Walker is that 5'8" that needs a strong halfback with him. And Ilias just isn't that yet. He's only played 10 first grade games. So I don't see it getting better overnight for Souths, to be honest.
Yeah, they made their decision with Reynolds, and now they probably just have to live by it. Obviously, you have Cody Nikorima there, who came to the club a couple of weeks ago now. Hasn't really played a lot of minutes or had a real great impact there either. So maybe he could be a solution if they start sliding out of the top 8, because they may just need a little bit of experience to guide them into the finals. From there, it's anyone's game. Cody Walker and Alex Johnston, 2 SuperCoach relevant names this time last year. They're just not firing as well. So when your big names aren't producing, it makes it hard to put the reliance upon some rookies.
Yeah, the only probably saving grace for South has been, as we said at the start of the podcast, Damien Cook. He's been really good this year. He's been the best player by a long way. He's churned out some really good SuperCoach scores too. So he's in great form ahead of Origin.
We'll probably just leave that game there, really. Not too much SuperCoach relevance beyond that. And obviously, Rabbitohs not playing round 13. So, yeah, even those names there, Walker, Johnston, that wouldn't figure in that bye week. Players that you may look to keep if they were hitting any sort of form, just not relevant this time of year anyway. So we'll leave that game there. The Sharks and the Roosters round us out on Super Saturday. And I've got here that we're going to learn a lot about both of these teams here, because 2 teams which at stages have looked like top 4 teams, and others probably look like they're missing the 8.
Yeah, fully agree with you. Sharkies lately, it was a good win against the Gold Coast, but it was against the Gold Coast. And then the Roosters were really humbled by the premiership favourites. So I think both have a lot to prove, as you're saying there. And I think the biggest news of the game is that Talakai is named, despite that foot injury.
What are you doing with Talakai? I sold him last week. The break-even was high. I knew there was rain around the Gold Coast. I wasn't keen on him. He obviously scored, I think it was about 45. He went off injured with about 10 minutes to play. So I wasn't burned, although in saying that, I did sell him to Taumalolo. We all know how that turned out. But Talakai, everyone brought him in. We brought him in late, didn't we? Out of fear almost. But now it's like, well, do you hold him or do you get rid of him? Because to make any of his cash, which he did make, you almost have to sell him.
Yeah, well, I got in at the worst possible time, and he hasn't got above 50 since I bought him. So he's been really frustrating for me. I still have him. I am keeping him because after the bye round, he doesn't play the bye, but after the bye round, he plays the Warriors, the Titans, and the Bulldogs, and then he plays round 17. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there is some good upside there. Even if he's not getting hundreds, he'll probably still get at least 50s. And then he plays at round 17. So there is some reasons to keep, I think.
Sharks may be lucky in the sense that they got away with the 2 points. I know they led 24-6 at one point, but there was a moment there at the back end of the game where you thought the Titans could run over the top of them at the end. I think Will Kennedy back helps them, despite, as good as Lachlan Miller was last week. I think Kennedy, a focal point in their attack. He's been missing since he was sent off. He's a big back and a big inclusion here. Back at home as well, the Sharks. $1.75. They start favourites here against the Roosters. $2.08 the line, -1.5. Over under 40 points. It's a wet night at Shark Park. That could be 40, could be just a little bit too many, I think, there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this will be more of a grinding game. Still on just SuperCoach for a sec with the Sharkies. Cam McInnes, I think, is starting to become somewhat relevant. Minutes still aren't great. He only played 50 the other day, but 53 base. His base stats are really getting up there. He's scoring around 60 every week. Yep. Maybe after the bye, he could be one to throw into your team.
They've just got so many middles there, the Sharks and obviously Dale Finucane to come back. I think McInnes is the 13. I think Finucane, for the good of the team, probably needs to move to prop. But again, for as long as Wade Graham's there, even T. Wilton can't start, which means he probably comes in off the bench and plays middle as well. So there's just too many mouths to feed there, I think, in the middles. I agree with you. McInnes is probably the pick of the bunch, and we know at his SuperCoach best, he is a consistent 65-plus scorer. So, no, I do like the shout there. For the Roosters, we've already spoken on how disappointing they were against the Panthers last week, but this is a game where they can probably bounce back, and if anyone knows how to break down Craig Fitzgibbon's defence, it's probably Trent Robinson, who worked with him at the Roosters just last year.
Yeah, master versus apprentice in a way, isn't it? I don't know about the Roosters. Like they didn't play that badly against the Panthers, and like you said, this is a great game to show that they've still got it. But I don't know. I think it might just be a rebuilding year. Maybe we overrated them a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah, some of those names like Sam Walker and even Joseph Suwali, to an extent, just going off his hype last year, maybe finding it a little bit difficult second year around in the NRL. Obviously, Sam Walker and Keary will come back into some SuperCoach relevance with that round 13 fixture as well. We said that last week. And Walker, I think he scored mid-60s, 62 last week. So in a team badly beaten against the Premiers with only 2 tries scored, probably not a bad score. He has the goal kicking as well. So Sam Walker could be a genuine option for round 13 if you are going to sell Nicho Hynes or Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, I like it. He's got in the 60s the past 3 weeks, which is consistent scoring for a halfback or a 5'8". So they do have a tough run over the next few weeks, but at least he's playing the bye round. So yeah, I like the shout.
Some good news for the Roosters beyond that. Satili Tupanua back, looks likely to come off the bench, although we've seen already this year the Roosters bench often swaps on game day. We've already mentioned there we're expecting a tight grinding affair, Tommy. Give us the unders as well, but if you're finding a try scorer or someone at a price, give me Angus Crichton. I think we've mentioned some names there around the Newcastle side. Their forwards pushing for Origin contention. I think Angus is in that same boat. So give me Angus Crichton. I'm just going to back the class.
Yeah, he's probably due a try. He hasn't done a lot this year, but with Origin on the horizon, he's likely to go big. I'm going to go Talakai. I'm going to hold him this week, and he's going to score a try finally.
Yeah, fingers, toes, and everything crossed for you and other Talakai owners as well. I just think he's such a tough watch. You know what he can do at his best, but just haven't seen it really since that 166 against Manly some time ago now. We'll move on. The Bulldogs and the Dragons, the first of 2 games on Sunday here. Obviously, the last time they met, and I say obviously, but that's because I just looked at it 5 minutes ago, so it's probably not all obvious. But the Bulldogs, last time they met the Dragons was that Queen's birthday Monday last year. They snapped a winning or a losing streak rather of 6 losses against the Dragons. And to that point, the Bulldogs had only won 2 games. Or 1 game prior to that one as well. So they held no fears heading into this game against the Dragons.
No, they won't. That usually is the Queen's birthday game. It's interesting that this year it is not. I don't know about the Dogs. I thought they were okay in patches against West, but then at other times they just showed they've got like no defence, and I'm a bit worried about their culture after. Maybe they like their coach. Maybe that's what I'm getting from that, because some players look like they didn't really care too much. Like Matt Duffy, I don't know. He seems to be struggling. Tavita Pangai Jr. was easily the best player of the night, though. He came off the bench and got about 70. He's on the bench again this week, so what are we doing with him?
Mate, he's like Talakai, really. Like, he's frustrating because you know what he can do at his best. I think we say that word about Pangai every week, frustrating. He came off the bench last week, as you say there, scored 70, but that was with a try assist, a line break assist as well. If he's not doing that, what's his score? It's probably mid-40s, and then again, you're probably left very frustrated. He will be a popular pick, though. Dual position forward playing round 13, and some names there like Payne Haas we expect to be missing. Excuse me. Tamalolo as well, out injured now. So some of these popular names at the front row forward spot, especially, that you could easily see someone going to Pangai.
Yeah, I flirted with it all week, and we'll get to our trades soon, but there's definitely merit there. The only other thing I'd probably want to mention with the Doggies is Jacob Carraz. Break even this week of negative 83. Could be the lowest I've ever seen. Projected to make around 100k. So he will definitely be a popular trade in.
Yeah, at the time of recording, I think he was the most popular trader that wasn't in my team prior to the week. He held 10% of all trades to that point. So, got here, is he a must in the run sheet? You made some pretty good points there as to why he would be. Obviously playing round 13 as well. If he holds his spot, which we probably expect him to do now with no Naden and Ockenball out of all sorts of form. Other question around the Bulldogs team list I have for you here is Max King in jersey number 12. What's doing there? Because I think to this point he's only really played through the middle, be it starting or at lock in the front row, or even off the bench he's come on and played in the middle. So expecting to see Max King on an edge here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really followed him that much this year. I know a lot of people have had him in their team. I haven't, but just looking at the bench, you've got TPJ and Raymond Fatala-Mariner, both, edge players. Probably doesn't bode well for King's minutes, just from the outside looking in.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. The only way I see it working is they come on for a front rower and then he shifts to the middle. But even then, Pangai equally adept through the middle as he is on an edge. And Fatala-Mariner, he made his name playing on an edge outside Kieran Foran. So anyway, we'll wait and watch on that one on Sunday afternoon for the Dragons. Cody Ramsey retains his slot at fullback. Played pretty well last week, we thought. And good to see Andrew McCulloch back at hooker.
You'll have to eat my words. I really thought Ramsey was a mistake to be fullback, but he played really well against the Warriors. No two ways about it. He was great. Lomax was also pretty good, probably the best player on the field, putting his hands up for Origin perhaps. But I don't think there's a lot of SuperCoach relevance in the Dragons at the moment.
Yeah, probably besides, you mentioned there Lomax, but you're probably not trading him in until you get the all clear that he's not playing Origin, because anything can happen there if he's injured and then comes back and not the same player he was. But no, we know what his ceiling is. Elite goal kicker, try scorer as well. And even when he doesn't score a try, I think that's the allure, isn't it? He probably scores a 45, 50 plus on his ear without a try. So no, that's always a bonus there with Zach Lomax. If you are having a bet in this game, Tommy, which I'm sure you will, Sunday afternoon, this game at Belmore. So the Bulldogs back at Belmore, that could be a big boost, and probably get a crowd there if the weather's okay.
Yeah, I have no idea in this game, in all honesty. It's tough to get a read on the Bulldogs. I think they have some potential, but you don't really know what you're going to get from them. The Dragons, you do know what you're going to get, but it's not that great. So I'm not sure at all, mate.
Plenty of tries down the Bulldogs' right side defence. Obviously, you saw that with Kenny Malmalo grabbing a double last week. So give me Matt Fiagai anytime try score at $2.07, or if you're after a bit of value, back the centre, Moses Sully. I think we say that every week that he's the value, $3.35. TopSport.com.au. I don't know if he touched the ball last week though, so not a whole heap of value there maybe.
Yeah, he had a few chances. He just had a couple of defenders in his way, but I reckon he's a chance to score. I'll back you up on that one.
Righto, we're all riding the Sully train, and then we're jumping on this one as well, the Raiders bandwagon. You're already on it, Tommy, but I might join you because they're playing some good footy the past couple of weeks. The Viking clap goes up. It will probably go up again on Sunday if they can get a win. How's this for a statistic? They'll be every bit confident of getting a win against the Eels. Parramatta have won just one of their past 10 games in Canberra, 2 of their past 15. But I will say this, that 1 of their past 10 was the last time they went down to Canberra, round 6, 2021. So, but historically, not an easy road trip there for Parramatta.
No, I do remember that game. I think they beat us 35-10 or something weird like that. But we have had some good games against Para other than that, as you allude to there, and we're in great form. And we get back Fogarty, which is probably... He was our big issue at the start of the year, not having him. Schneider's done an okay job, but, Fogarty's a proven first-grade halfback, and Whiten will be a lot better for having, someone stable like Fogarty with him.
Yeah, they get back some experience there. Obviously, lose Nickel Klukstar to injury. He's probably missing 6 weeks via the NRL physio, which sees Xavier Savage go to the back. But Fogarty there at halfback and Jared Croker back in the centres as well. So much like Tom Trbojevic with his shoulder injury, we thought his season was done, Jared Croker. But this will be game number 293 for him as he closes in on that milestone of 300.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's just riding that, hoping that he gets to 300 because he's such a good bloke sort of thing. But he did play well in that one game back against the Doggies a few weeks ago. But that CNK injury you mentioned there, if Savage plays well, the next few weeks, it could be the last time we see CNK in the fullback role, really, because Savage, we saw the other day, just in a couple of touches, he really does have a lot of potential.
Yeah, so dangerous through the middle, has that speed, which is, everyone talks about his speed, but it's just that balance with his running as well. He just carved up Souths on that try, he ended up scoring. For the Eels, I've got here, was Hayes Perham unfairly dropped? I thought he's been pretty good. I mean, to be fair, his defence has probably let him down. That's why they let him go. But in saying that, I don't think Wonga Blake is the best defender either. So maybe Hayes Perham unfairly dropped, scored a double last week. He's been good to this point. But they're just paving the way, aren't they, for Maker Sevo to get his way back. Not named to start here, Maker, but jersey 24, he's still a chance to play.
Yeah, it'd be great once he's back, because obviously, we all know the Sevo chant at Bankwest or Comeback, whatever it's called. And I am keen to see him back just from an entertainment point of view. Not sure about a SuperCoach option. Haven't really looked into it too much. Something that caught my eye on the team sheet here was Isaiah Papali'i to lock. He's been obviously on that right edge all year, churning out massive scores, scoring tries. How does his game change at lock this week?
It's either a blessing or a curse, and I think the way that I've done with my trades this year, I could have cursed him, because again, I is someone I brought in 2 weeks ago for his try-scoring form. He's damaging ball running on an edge, and now he's just sort of tied up in the middle. But if he plays 80 through the middle, which he probably won't, but fingers crossed he will, again, there's probably 60 base stats there waiting for him with his name on them. So not all bad if he is to move to the middle. Obviously, they've got some bench players there in Madison and Brown who could swap and start in the middle, and he goes back to his familiar edge as well. So keep an eye on that one, though, because it could have some implications, and he is a name that we do want to be playing with from rounds, well, if you don't already have him, but definitely rounds 18 to 25.
Yeah, well, just before round 17 as well, because I'll play that second bye and he'll be there. Madison as well on the bench is a bit of a surprise. I thought he played well the other day. He got 90 on SuperCoach. He's becoming an option, but just off the bench, it's hard to trust minutes-wise, I guess.
Yeah, and sort of like we see it at other players, and maybe not the same as a Pangai or a Fafita in the sense he's not doing that highlight run with 6 or 8 tackle busts, but he does pick up an attacking stat every now and again. Ryan Madison, good for a try, and a noted leaper as well. So Mitchell Moses can land some of his kicks. He's every chance of being on the end of it. That's all I have for that game there, Tommy, unless you are having a bet with TopSport, $2.50. The Raiders, they get a 4.5 start at home. The Eels, $1.53. Excuse me again. They're in good form, the Eels, just starting to really announce themselves as a real finals player, and they'll be looking to lock down a top 4 spot here, and probably anything shy of a win they'd be disappointed with.
Yeah, no bets for me. Just be sitting there with my Raiders jersey on, but I think it's a great game on paper. Every game with the Eels this year has been entertaining. I think they've been part of some of the best games of the year, so I think this will be another one of those.
Stick with us. Coming up after the break, we're going to chat some captains for round 12. We'll take a little bit of a look ahead to round 13 as well. Captaincy all important in round 13 as well. So stick around for that. We're going to do our trading places on the other side of this break.
Having a bet on sport this week? Top this.
Whether you're into cricket and curling, TopSport will let you on for plenty. And with literally hundreds of markets from your own backyard to the international stage, TopSport has you well covered. So if you want to get the top odds every time, bet with TopSport.
Top that. Download the app today. TopSport. Feel the excitement.
Don't let the game play you. Stay in control. Gamble responsibly.
Welcome back. SuperCoach365 podcast, proudly brought to you again in season 2022, as we were last year via topsport.com.au. This is the time in the show, Tommy, where we check in with the futures, and Penrith, as they often are at this time of the week, leading the way in the premiership favourites race. They've gotten shorter, $2.50. It's better than bank interest, though, and you've got them just about home and hosed.
Yeah, I've just never seen a team be so clearly the best team at this stage of the year. I just think they've played amazing footy, and to back up their first premiership in a long time last year, it's the first time those players have tasted success, and they haven't let it get to their heads. They just kept going. So, yeah, I don't know. Can you see anyone beating them? Because the Storm are struggling at the moment themselves.
Yeah, Storm will get a few back, $3.80. Again, it's probably... We kept saying the Eels and the Sharks to value here, but they clearly are a class below the other two. So if it is a race in two, though, to make the grand final, if you're just happy to for the Storm to be there, $2.50, probably the way to go, really. Yeah, Panthers $1.50 to make the grand final. So just echoes your thoughts there of it could be a race in two, although in saying that, we thought that this time last year as well. Speaking of making the top four there, I said Parramatta, they'll be looking to, I guess, improve on what they showed last week against Manly. If you think they can make the top four, $2, even money there. The Sharks also $2, a team under the even money price. The Cowboys $1.90. So just shows you they've rocketed into top four contention.
Yeah, are we starting to really take them seriously now? Because I think we were last week, but
Yep.
To beat the Storm by 30, it's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is. If they can beat the Panthers this week, that'll be $1.30, I think, to make the top four. The Cowboys there to make the top 8. We've mentioned some teams like Brisbane and the Raiders obviously fighting that out as well. South Sydney, they've just been wound out again, $1.75 to make the top 8. Surprisingly so, Manly, $2.30 still without Tom Trbojevic to make the top 8. For mine, if I'm playing this market, I'm probably backing the Dragons at $4.50. Probably the only real value there outside of the Raiders. If they can get on a little run, the Dragons, I know they haven't really shown a hell of a lot yet, but that's probably where the value is for mine.
Yeah, there's not a lot of value, but I probably agree. The Dragons is the only team you'd be willing to back there. Maybe the Raiders with their players coming back, but not too sure. Least wins, another one I like to look at. The wooden spoon market, basically. The Dogs really short now, $1.85, and with all the turmoil off the field, it's probably hard to argue. I still think the Warriors at $11 are a bit of value. They're in all sorts with, players going down. I think AFB might almost miss the season. Lodge just left the club. I think there's a few negatives there for them.
Yep, good shout. And you sadistic man, you want to look at the least seasons win market, your favourite market. We'll leave that there. Obviously, you can check out all of those markets at topsport.com.au. If you are having a bet, you can do so via the link in our Instagram bio. Click that. Tristan and the boys will look after you. Believe you me. And always gamble responsibly if you are having a bet. Tommy, let's talk some captains. Round 12. We saw this last week, how important the captaincy is. We say it every week, really, but some games towards the start of the week. Obviously, Melbourne and Penrith playing on Thursday and Friday. That's going to make this captaincy choice even more interesting this week, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think we both think that Melbourne will bounce back against Manly. So it probably makes, I guess, Cam Munster and Harry Grant possible vice-captain options, maybe.
What are we doing with Nathan Cleary against the Cowboys? Obviously, playing at home, fixtures, he's almost bulletproof. But again, you've sort of backed it there, the unders. Maybe we're not expecting as many points in this game, and plenty of rain around Sydney this week as well. So it could be a slippery night out there at Penrith.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Cleary, I'm just looking at his scores now. 2 scores over 150 this year, another 3 over 80, and that's only in 7 total games. So he's been excellent this season. I think you at least have to have either the vice or captain on him, despite the factors that you've mentioned. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think back to that game. I think it was against Souths. It might have even been his first game back to start the year. Similar sort of game, wasn't it? Night game at Penrith, wet conditions. I think he scored, what did he tell me? 30-something, 40-something?
34, yep.
Yeah. But he's the class horse early in the week, and then obviously thinking towards the back end of the week, you look at names like Nico Hines. It's just hard not to be with Nico in some way. Back at home against the Roosters, but even then, a night game against a top 4 defensive team at their best, the Roosters. Probably yet to see it and didn't see it last week, but they'll be keen to bounce back. So not an easy game there for Nico Hines.
No easy captain choice this week. I don't think it's a tough one. I think Hines, even though it is a hard game, he's just so involved in their attack. He takes a lot of runs, he can score tries, and he's kicking goals way better than he was at the start of the year as well.
All of that in mind, I did look towards maybe a safer option, inverted commas, someone up front in the forwards. Isaiah Papali'i spring to mind. Last game of the week, I don't know what the weather's doing in Canberra, but an afternoon fixture at the very least. But even then, an asterisk over his minutes playing through the middle as well. So a little bit to consider. But again, I think he could be a popular captaincy option come Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, perhaps. And you could, vice a Cleary, a Munster, or a Hines. And if they don't do much and a lot of other players haven't done a lot, you're looking good for Papali's likely 70 to 80.
Stick around to our Instagram at SuperCoach365. We'll settle on our best at some points Wednesday night. You can check that out. And our captain's call, it went gangbusters last week. I think upwards of 1,000 likes. Everyone's enjoying what we're putting out there, Tommy, and hopefully they're listening to you and not me, because as we say at the top of the podcast, you're absolutely flying. You're 4/5 of this podcast in season 2022. Tommy, let's do our trades though, our team updates, our trading places. I want you to kick us off here because it's a big move this week for the Doja Cats.
Yeah, I've gone a little crazy. I don't think I'll change before Thursday, but it could happen. So look out for our team lists on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. I should say, on Instagram. First trade on your screen there is it Isaiah Yeo? Is that the first trade I put there?
Yep,
he's out anyway. He's done a lot of good work for me over this season. Really solid scorer, but just with Origin on the horizon, I'm going to go to Tago. I know I traded him out a few weeks ago, but I said earlier, 6 break even. He's playing well again. They've got a great run, and he's 100k cheaper almost than Yo. So I save a bit of money, and he plays next week in the bye round. Joe Tarpany, a bit of Raider flavour into the team. He's replacing Jairo Momasia, so obviously a big upgrade there. I need a front row forward while Taumalolo is injured, and Tarpany's been doing a really good job. Even when he plays limited minutes, he's still getting 50 odd, so he's doing a job for me there. And the last one is Jacob Carraz. I think he's not a must-have, but there's a lot of boxes being ticked there. He's going to make 100k. He's going to play the bye round, and he's replacing Billy Smith. I know Billy Smith is in the reserves this week, and he may play round 13, but he's 294k. Yeah, he's just not, even if he plays, he's only going to get 30, 40 points and get dropped again. So it's just not much point having him, I don't think.
18 trades remaining beyond those, and 2 trade boosts as well. I think we always spoke about that, didn't we, this time of year, using your trade boosts. You probably went a week earlier than I thought you did, but I can see the merit there, particularly around getting in Isaac Tungo with the low break even, and also Carraz before the price rise. So whether you did sum up or you did contemplate this week or next or some point, you've obviously gone 1 week early, and that's probably your advice is weigh it up. It doesn't always have to be the week before or the week of that buy impacted round.
Yeah, it was a few factors, mainly the break even. Carraz, you got to get in this week on Carraz, and then Tago's is 6. So yeah, get on there, get on them at the moment. But yeah, 18 trades left with 13 rounds to go, 14 rounds to go even. It's going to be a tight run thing by the end of the year, I think.
Mate, we said this in January. We're going to be so strict with our trades. We're going to, treat them like our last beer in the fridge. We weren't going to touch it. We're just going to put it away until grand final day. Anyway, it's a Tuesday night, and here we are sipping on it. I'll send up you mine here. Just 2 trades for me on your screens here now, or if you're listening to us, this is where I'm going this week. Tommy Trbojevic out for Jerome Hughes, and Andrew Fafita out for Jacob Carraz. Echo your thoughts there about Carraz and getting him in this week opposed to next. And with Turbo, it's just as much swallowing the pride as it is still trying to keep that long game, that long lens as to the players I want in my team come round 25 and working backwards back until round 17. So Jerome Hughes is certainly one of those players. I will say this though, if Hughes doesn't play this week, like he was named the past 2 weeks I think and didn't play, they're actually versing Manly, that being the Storm. So that's an easy trade update or reverse trades there. So no issues with that one there. Whether I'll go to someone else or not, I don't know. It's so hard to find a player of value that can score not only big, but someone that you want to keep for the rest of the year as well. And as you see there, 19 trades remaining, 3 trade boosts remaining, and $425,000 in the bank. So that's where my head's at. And as I've always said, sort of have to play that long game. I'm conserving those trade boosts. I'm looking at rounds probably 17, 18, 24, the way I look at it now. I don't think I'll trade boost next week either, so happy to probably play short in round 13. I say happy, but probably out of necessity rather than a want.
Yeah, that was my obvious question. Would you use the boost next week? But you sort of answered it there. How many players are you currently looking at fielding in next week's team?
Yeah, a hell of a lot less than I originally was. I'm probably looking at around 12. I think I wanted 14, 15. So obviously depending on who's named in the Origin system, but going off likely inclusions, I'm probably looking at 12, worst case maybe 10. So anyway, that's where we are up until that point, and obviously yeah, as I say there, trades, they may be reversed. Final teams on our Instagram, 7 p.m. on Thursday night. Stick around for that one. Tommy, let's answer some questions here before we wrap it up for the week. And plenty of these questions here about Kiraz, one of our popular trade in you and I. Alex Brigo, friend of the show, says, what's Kiraz's job security look like? He looks a breath of fresh air at the Bulldogs. I don't know about his job security, but with Naden gone, Ockenbaugh, as we say, not really showing anything, he could have locked down a spot.
Yeah, I think you've answered it there. Naden's gone. Ockenbaugh's, let's be honest, he's been really bad this year. Kiraz has been good in his 2 efforts so far, so I think he should be there for the rest of the year, as long as he's not stinking up the joint.
He did play left wing last week, which is probably the Bulldogs' better side, and Adokar wasn't there, so he will likely revert to the right side once the Origin star comes back. But again, Adokar's going to be in and out of this team for some time now, with Origin just a couple of weeks away. Jacob Babu.355 says, what happened to Will Smith? Talking about the Titans' Will Smith.
Not the actor. No, look, I wish I knew, because I bought Will Smith in a couple of weeks ago with round 13 in mind, and he's been MIA ever since. So, yeah, he's still sitting there on my bench, but I don't think he's going to play.
Adam Blundell, just on Smith, I don't know. I haven't been interested in him this year, so I can't answer you there. Adam Blundell says, I can trade anyone in for Fanua Blake in any position. Who should I target? So, I mean, obviously playing the Jules here, but chasing points or cash. Obviously, we don't know who he's got, but I mean, it's hard to say you can get anyone you want. But if I told you can pick out 3 names from your SuperCoach hat, who are those 3 names that you're probably looking at?
Tago at the moment, if you don't have him, you probably do though. I think he's 60% owned. Kickow, I reckon at the moment is worth a go with the Panthers run. I don't know. Kiraz, but he's pretty cheap. What do you think? Got any names for me?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? And obviously, you're looking at round 13, potentially. Pangai, do you want to put your eggs in his basket? Maybe not. Matty Burton is a name I keep seeing coming up from a couple of people. Playing round 13, we think, if he's not playing Origin, which we don't think he will be. Showed his class last week, didn't he, against the Tigers? Scored a try. Hasn't scored many tries this year, but he's dangerous when he is running the ball. So, yeah, if you're thinking pod plays round 13, probably one of those 2, or playing the Cowboys, maybe even Tommy Dearden still out of price. Oliver Sullivan here, Tass to Kiraz.
Yeah, it seems logical to me. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. You can probably put Isaiah Tass on the missing persons watch with Will Smith, because, yeah, he's been unsighted since everyone traded him in. Kiraz, if it's a quick cash grab and nothing else, then, yeah, you could do worse, I think. Riley Milton 4 says, pick up Brandon Smith, or not good enough like he was last year. Again, Brandon Smith, one of these names, one of these fallen guns that scored tries at will last year and just not producing in season 2022.
Yeah, I think he scored so many tries last year, and maybe the faster nature of the game just suited him, and playing hooker a lot last year. But yeah, I'm not too hot on him this year.
Make that 2 of us. Blake Penton. Penton Blake says here, what CTWs for the run home? Again, maybe pick out 4 of the best names, or 2 or 3 of the best names if you can't think of a full slot there. But in your dream team to run home, if you had unlimited supply of cash, who are your 3 or 4 centre wings that you want to be finishing with?
Yeah, well, Brian Totter would be up there, although he's not doing as much work as other years, so maybe the jury's out on him. I think Staggs is honestly worth having at his price. He goes big every now and then. He's just a great player. Joey Manu, maybe. I don't know. There's probably 3 off the top of my head. What do you think?
Lomax is probably one I want to get to eventually. I don't have him now in Origin a question, so yeah, maybe not. Isaac Tango still. I mean, for as long as he's not losing money, he's solid 55-point scorer, I think, most weeks. Has the base stats like a Joey Manu. Joey Manu, one of those players, it's 90 or 40. 65-point average centre wing, but you probably have to take the bad with the good with Joey Manu. And then obviously, I mean, players you look at, Alex Johnston, does he come good eventually and Souths find something? He is someone who is such a high ceiling player. You're going to want to have him in your head-to-head grand finals if he does hit the form we know he can. And one of those names we don't mention there is Sifa Talakai, and Jackson Stew asks, is Sifa a hold?
Yeah, well, I said earlier, like I'm holding him personally just with a really good run, and then he plays round 17, which will be a good boost. But you have sold him personally, so I guess what's your logic behind that?
Yeah, I just thought if I was going to justify the trade in, I had to get rid of him before he lost all the money that I brought him in to make. So, yeah, and again, I saw that wet fixture against the Titans last week. I didn't love it. And without his try-scoring form, which he showed against Manly and in some of those other wins that they produced scores, he just doesn't get in and doesn't find the points which we know he can. Last one here from Jackson again. He says round 13 numbers. Sort of touched on it there. Between 10 and 14, perhaps?
Yeah, I think I'm sitting at probably going to be about 10 to 12, which is not like amazing, but I think we both said we're probably going to target round 17 a bit more, so it might work out okay in the end.
Yeah, that's probably the way we're looking at it. A lot of the way that a lot of the other big SuperCoach players are, I say others, I'm not a part of that list. Tommy, you may be. Listen to some of the other podcasts. You might find a source of information. Just before we wrap it up, I just want to say a big happy birthday on Thursday to Blake Moore. Obviously not dropping a question tonight, but Blake's Brushwork's a familiar name on this podcast. So happy birthday to Blake.
Yeah, happy birthday to him, and also, well done, as you said before, to Roosters pack. He's absolutely flying. Hopefully, he can get the win for our group.
Keep it going, Troy. Actually tried to get Troy on the podcast tonight, but he was busy. He rushed us. He's got better things to do. Tommy, let's leave it there. Round 12, round 13 on the horizon. SuperCoach365 podcast. Ryan and Tommy, as we say, stick with us. Big week coming up.
Big week next week with Origin and the bye, so looking forward to it, mate.
Stick around to our socials, as we say, at SuperCoach365. That's where you get us and all of our good things beyond the podcast. Subscribe, thumbs up on YouTube here as well. Enjoy your footy this weekend.